You're listening to the Bear and the Beard podcast. We're just two nerdy guys talking nerdy things. I'm Robert, the Bear.
And I'm Brian, the Beard. Each week, the Bear and I explore a new topic related to nerd and or pop culture.
We believe there's always a nerdy opinion to be given, so we sit down each week and discuss a new topic.
And we may disagree or argue sometimes, and you may not always agree with us, but please remember at the end of the day, this is mostly our opinion with a little bit of research and fact added in.
And most importantly, the main goal is to have fun. So let's just go ahead and get into it. You ready, brother?
Sure am. Let's get nerdy with it.
Here we go. Hey, listener or viewer, do you know how powerful you truly are? As fans in Nerdom and Pop Culture, we actually have a lot of power.
But in the words of wise Uncle Ben, with great power comes great responsibility.
That's correct. And that is also to say, in this case, as fans, we've got the power, but we have to be careful on how we use it and not to let it go to our heads and become toxic.
Now, we've talked this topic a little bit here and there, and I even recently did a Comic-Con panel on it, but today we're giving it the full episode treatment.
Joined by Ori from Geeky Vengeance, we're just going to go ahead and get nerdy with it, shall we? Fan opinion, power, and toxicity in fandom are the topics today, and we'll get into them right after these announcements. Please stand by. Hey there, listeners and or viewers, both returning and new to this week's nerdy discussion.
Yes, welcome. Real quick, we wanted to give you just a few announcements.
That's right. We always put them here at the beginning of each episode so we don't distract too much from the topic at hand later on. So we're going to get these out of the way. Bear with us.
Firstly, a huge thanks to everyone for downloading, listening, rating, and reviewing the show. We really appreciate the love and support, and your sharing and rating helps us to get more listeners.
If you enjoy this or watching it, don't hoard it like a sneaky little niffler.
Or that stingy dragon Smog.
That's right. Please, please, please share it with all the other nerds you know, friends, family, all of them.
And you can also find our podcast right now pretty much everywhere you find podcasts. And that's all thanks to Buzzsprout.com, who we thank so much for supplying our episodes to all the other platforms each week.
And for video versions of our episodes, go check out our YouTube channel if you haven't already. Just search the Bear and the Beard podcast or click the link in the episode description.
We also want to invite you to talk nerdy to us. And for that, we have several different options.
That's right. There's the website, the www.thebearandthebeardpodcast.com. No spaces, no hyphens. Brought to you by Wix.com and created by our Bearded Bear team member, Mama Bear.
There's also our email, thebearandthebeardpodcast@yahoo.com. And you can text or leave a voicemail on the Nerd line, which is 769-208-4079.
And let's also not forget the Facebook page, the Bear and the Beard podcast. We want to thank everyone that has already stopped by and liked the page, and we invite you to do the same.
We're proud to report that we've reached over 220 likes so far, and we want to thank everyone who's already shared or interacted with our content as well. If you haven't joined that number yet or stopped by the Instagram page, please do so to stay up to date with all things Bear and Beard.
And lastly, stay tuned for merch coming soon. Shirts, hats, decals, tumblers, and more. Bearded Bear gear will soon be here. I'm wearing one of the hats right now.
That is awesome. Now that that's out of the way, let's get on to this week's topic.
And here we go.
I've got the power!
I've got the power!
What's going on, everybody, viewers and listeners? Welcome to or back to the Bear and the Beard podcast. I am Robert, a.k.a. The Bear. I am joined, as always, by my majestically bearded, faithful co-host, Bearded Brian Guy, The Beard. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm going to say this because I have not said this in a while. I have been looking forward to this episode, but we've done this episode. Not only did we do it at Comic-Con, but you actually did this by yourself as one of our lost episodes, as like episode 2 or 3.
It was like episode 2 or 3. Listeners, viewers, if you're looking for it, don't bother. It's gone. It's vanished. It vanished with the transfer of.
And it didn't have me in
files.
it, so it couldn't have been much good. No, I'm kidding.
I mean,
it was
you're-
great.
you're-
I went back and watched it. You had
You're
a
only
lot of
half
good
wrong.
talking points. No, you had a
Yeah.
lot of good talking points on it, and we've gotten into this subject here and there on different episodes because
Mhm.
a lot of stuff really boils down to opinions. And
Yeah.
then, of course, we did it at Comic-Con, which we were going to record, but couldn't sign into a darn computer. And we were crashed by this awesome person.
I was actually just fixing to say, I think it was Ori's fault. Like it wasn't us that the computer was trying to stop. I think it was Ori that the computer was trying to
Probably,
prevent.
because,
So
hold on. So I'm all about that positive fan experience. I run my group, Geeky Vengeance. I know it sounds like, we'd be like hardcore, like going after everything fandom, but we're kind of one of the most chill groups, and we have a lot of like healthy discussions on fandom. If we don't like it, we don't attack each other. If we have a reason to not like it, we talk about it and move on. We have a good time with it. I love it.
that's how it should be. And welcome back to the cast also, Ori. Thank you for being here this week with us as well. Now, as Brian said, Ori was there when we did this panel. She is proof that we actually did do the panel, other than the photo from our Comic-Con post show. And she had a lot of good talking points, so that's why we've kind of brought her back. And we just wanted to kind of have that same conversation again, but for our listeners and viewers. We thank everyone that attended the panel. First
The
and
best
foremost,
panel.
Especially Jenna.
Yeah.
Jenna had great
Jenna.
input
Especially
on this
Jenna.
as well.
The next
Jenna
generation.
saw our post show and commented. Like, I didn't even know like how we would go. We were just like, if you're listening to this or if you're watching this, hey.
And she commented on the YouTube link, and then I'm like, you have to message me. So she messaged me today, and like, she's the sweetest. Oh my gosh, I just want to put her in my pocket. I know Beard was talking about adopting her if her
Yep.
parents.
Yeah.
ever-
I know she has parents, but if they ever decide she needs a new parent, I'll take that on.
I'll adopt her.
We could just
She's
make
the
her
daughter I hope I
honorary-
have someday.
She's the honorary next generation of the Beard and the Beard and Bear and the Beard and Geeky Vengeance all wrapped into one. Like
Yep.
she's the what do they call that? The heir. She is our heir.
Yes, she's the heir to our
She is our
thrones.
heir. We don't have to adopt her. She's just the heir to our
We don't have to
our
marry
establishment.
anybody off to like
No.
join the kingdoms. We just hand it to Jenna.
Right.
Because she
So-
really was the sweetest, and she had some really,
She really
great
was.
opinions on fandom in her generation as well. She's adorable. I just want to keep her forever. Anyway,
And
that's
no toxicity in it. I mean, toxicity has overpowered in a lot of conversations, and it almost is worth not talking about, but you kind of have to, because it's something we need to, as a whole nerd nation, we need to put a stop to it. We need to put our foot down and say, we're not tolerating this stuff anymore.
Yeah, that's one thing that I've found. Did either of you do debate in high school?
I did speech and debate in high school.
Okay, so one of the really great things I learned from speech and debate is how to disagree with somebody, but do it in a way that it doesn't escalate the situation. Or I
Right.
also did impromptu debate where like you would have to go in sometimes and argue something you didn't actually believe in. Like, you like spearmint toothpaste, but all they have is like peppermint toothpaste, and like you'd have to argue why you actually like peppermint toothpaste. And I
Right.
love that, and I think that's one thing that I wish we could bring more into our fandoms, is how to understand an argument
Right.
while coming at it from a different perspective.
Well, and some debates just
yeah.
get out of hand. It's not even that there's even a debate to be had. Like the Xbox PlayStation debate. And I talked about this at the panel. There's really, you can do almost as much as you can, with the exception of exclusives, on a PlayStation that you can do with an Xbox. With those two, it really does come down to preference. There's no objective opinion of this is better or this is better. It's just, what do you prefer?
Well,
And
it hasn't always been that way though.
Mm-mm.
In
No,
the
but-
past few generations of consoles, yes, they've been very similar, to where it only comes down to, do you like playing God of War or do you like playing Halo? It's literally that argument. But that's just fanboys and fangirls just going at each other for no real reason. But in the
sometimes it's a
early
nice
days,
joke,
it was
though.
like Microsoft was better in some cases. PlayStation was better. But just because one thing's better doesn't mean there should be a debate on which one is better.
Mhm.
Well,
It should
a
stand
fun
for
debate
fact.
is one thing. I'm going to go a little off of nerd forever because this is off of nerd topics, but it is another toxic debate. Chevy versus Ford. I
Yeah.
have nothing against Chevy, but I talk on Chevy all the time because I got nothing against Ford, and they always on Ford. And when it's just the talking, like me and my family will talk about it, that's fine. But as soon as people start getting to the point, there was a point where my mom, my birth mother, would not allow someone with a Ford to park on her property.
See, that's
That's
ridiculous.
taking things too far. And some people like that with Xboxes. You play PlayStation, well, I can't be your friend anymore. I know kids around this area who have been bullied because they have a PlayStation rather than Xbox, or an Xbox rather than a PlayStation, or I prefer DC, I prefer Marvel. Who cares?
You should be able to
Debate-
like what you like without
Debate
actually
with fun,
having a
but
serious debate about it.
Don't make it this affects your personality and how I perceive you as a person. No.
So let me kind of explain. I'm a marketing person as well, so I know how companies will use the fight between, say, PlayStation and Xbox to get their people talking about what's happening with their console. And then the constant fighting and friction, it ends up being a free, publicity stunt for these consoles and for these events or anything that's happening. If you notice, right before Black Widow came out, what's his name? The actor just crapped on Scarlett Johansson for being in such a trash movie. And I'm like, are you kidding me right now? You're going to say something about superheroes when you do art films. People are going to crap on art films all the time. Why are you perpetuating this whole inner fighting when you guys really should be supporting each other? If you have something to say about the movie itself, that's one thing. But this crap on Scarlett Johansson for being in that movie, it was not needed.
No, not needed at all. There was a comedian I heard a while back. I don't remember his name. I don't remember the name of the bit, but I do remember that his dad was a defense attorney. So, and I bring all of this up because there's one point that he made about opinion. And so his son, being a comedian, is, giving out these opinions and stuff like that as an adult. And he says, I learned how to do this in a good way. Like, yeah, it's joking because I'm a comedian. So I do this in a joking way. You're not supposed to take it seriously. But I learned that from my father, who was a defense attorney, who told me when I was young, when he would ask me, like, why do you like blank? And then he'd say, well, here's my thoughts on that, Dad. And then his dad would turn around and look at him and say, if you can't argue the other side of that point in the next 30 minutes, you do not have an entitlement to that opinion, because you should at least understand where the other side comes from. And
perspective is everything.
And that's a very and I'm sure it was more of a joke than anything. I'm pretty sure his dad didn't say that.
But
to
it's
him like
also
that
a good
kid.
lesson for life.
Right.
In everything, when it boils down to opinions, a lot of stuff, now there's some stuff that comes down to moral wrong and right, but most stuff, and we know what stuff is moral wrong and right. That stuff is just kind of a given. Anything beyond that is really just a different person's perspective. And we can agree we can disagree with someone wholeheartedly. Like Bear and I, we have a disagreement about Brie Larson, Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
I have absolutely nothing against Captain Marvel. I thought it was a phenomenal movie to watch. I'd sit down and watch it again. Bear, he doesn't care for it as much.
It's not my favorite Marvel movie. It's not a trash movie in my opinion, like a lot of people try to say it is. My personal opinion is that Brie Larson's acting was a little flat in the movie, and I didn't like some of the things. I didn't like some of the things that they put into the movie, like that kind of made you have to watch it because it linked certain things. It was almost like Disney was trying this thing that they knew wasn't going to work. It did work for a lot of people. Like I said, it's a good movie. I'll watch it. I'll watch anything Marvel. I'll watch everything Marvel at
everything that
least
comes
more
out of
than
Marvel.
once. It's just that was a personal opinion of mine. Now, am I going to do what a lot of people did and go and review bomb that movie? No. Am I going to sit there and say, don't watch Captain Marvel? I will tell you, and I've told friends of mine this in the past, if you're not a huge Marvel fan, skip it.
Yep.
It's,
Yeah.
you know, if you
And
want
having
to
those-
skip it. If you don't like Brie Larson, skip it. If you don't want to see a whole movie that's pretty much just prequel of how she came into the MCU, skip it. But I'm not saying skip it because it's a bad movie. I'm saying you can skip it. So
I'll go a different route because I'm not trying to talk about Captain Marvel so much. The point I'm saying, the best thing I can say with it was Star Wars, and I think I mentioned this at the panel. I'm someone, the prequels, the sequels, the original all
trilogy.
of them, just give it to me. I will take it all. I have zero beef at all. Zero beef. I love every direction. Some stuff I wish was stretched out a little bit more, but I'm still okay with it. I'm okay with it. And
Fill in
some
some
people,
plot holes for me. That's all I asked.
some people watch the prequels or some people watch the sequels, and it is just garbage to them. And that is okay. That's valid. Some people hate all the Star Wars movies. It's not because they have a hatred for the fandom. It's just It's just something. There was a lady on TikTok who had a conversation with about this. She watched them all. She gave them the old college try. It was not her cup of tea. She said, these movies are not entertaining to me. Some fans would go in on her like, how are you even fucking human? You don't like Star Wars?
Yeah,
what the fuck is wrong
that's
with
where
you?
it crosses a line.
That's toxic.
And I'll point out a difference there too. The difference in watching it and it not being your cup of tea and watching it one time and saying you hate it, that's where you just cross that line into toxicity. That's where it happens right there. To say I watched it, I gave it a shot, wasn't my thing, hey,
And
but
that's
do
totally
you?
okay.
That's okay.
That's okay.
But there are people
I've
out there
hate
that
for liking the new stuff.
Oh yeah.
People have told me I'm not a Star Wars fan because I enjoyed the sequels. Like, oh, you actually call yourself a Star Wars fan and those movies didn't piss you off? Yeah, because I'm a Star Wars fan.
The fact that we're still getting Star Wars movies, even though George Lucas has nothing to do with them, that even resemble anything close to the original trilogy, is enough reason for those people to shut the fuck up.
I'm gonna tell y'all right now, without some of the I'm not gonna call it problematic because they weren't, but out of what people call the trash heap, they gave us the Mandalorian and Baby Yoda.
Baby Yoda, baby Yoda, baby Yoda, baby Yoda.
That's all I need.
Well, to be fair, that's a call forward to an episode we're going to be doing soon. To be fair, The Mandalorian was its own side project, and it exists technically within the original Star Wars storyline, but it also happens between the original trilogy and the new sequels. So, and that also has Jon Favreau as the lead on that.
Favreau.
and he gave us Iron Man 1 and 2. So yes, I agree. I'm not complaining. That's all I need. But
Jon Favreau has taken Star Wars and interweaved like this beautiful and magical, just magicalness of magic, and that's that.
I've heard some people say like the actual Star Wars movies are done now, but if they were to ever pick back up again, I hope Jon Favreau is leading that ship.
They're not done. They're not done. They left it wide open for Rey to be the next Luke Skywalker. So
Please.
it's not done, but we'll see.
Just fill in some plot holes for me. That's all I ask, Favreau, please. Like, I will bake you cookies.
I just don't
every
want
day
to
for the
imagine
rest of
Palpatine.
So,
I don't want to imagine Palpatine ever having a kid.
Just it's almost not worth thinking about.
It's almost not worth thinking about.
Oh, you want to go after Palpatine? My grandfather? I would have totally turned dark side at this point. I'm just saying.
So,
I would have been Dark Rey.
I like so not that we're off topic, but to bring up one of our topics, I like what Ori said. Favreau, just please give me some plot hole fill-ins. That is the power that we as fans have. That is fan opinion power. And that's what the first topic of this episode really is. So when we say fan opinion power, it's not just you as a fan have the power. It's more than that. Did you know that in certain countries, we talked about this at the panel, we've talked about this in some episodes, where they know what, like Disney knows what they can put into a movie and what they can't, based
That
off
is
of the
why
country that it's going to
Mephisto-
be viewed in.
That is why Mephisto cannot be in the MCU.
Well,
Unless they find a way around it, but that's why
yeah,
he was definitely not going to be in WandaVision, because they
Because of
can't
the-
sell. They have a huge
the-
market in China, and you cannot
Yeah.
put Christian themed stuff that it won't
Mm-mm.
sell in China, and that's a
Nope.
huge market for Disney.
right. So for everyone like saying, "Oh, it's Mephisto," keep in mind they're not just making this show for America. They're making this show for every other country that
It's not
isn't
to say
Christian
it's
oriented.
not to say that it wouldn't. It's not to say that it wouldn't be a good storyline. I mean, we would all love
Yeah.
the storyline, and Marvel probably wishes that they could do it, and maybe someday they'll find a way to do it.
Knowing Feige, yes, they will eventually figure out a way around
But
it.
they might
I
have to
just-
call a different way to name him. That
yeah,
might be
or
it.
something
Or
like that.
they
But-
could still name him Mephisto, but change just a little bit. I mean, they've done it with so many characters throughout the MCU. Oh gosh. I mean, look at what they've been able to do with Loki.
Yeah,
They would
that's
just have
true.
to avoid calling him the devil. I think that's all they would have to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and they can't portray him as his comic book accurate self because that's red dude, horns, cape. I mean, it would be obvious.
But
They'd
okay,
have to find some
in
other way to
Ghost
do
Rider,
it.
that was basically Mephisto, and they never showed red horns in that. They could go
Right.
old man type. I think they should go Esposito.
Yeah, red shirt, black tie, black suit, just walks in.
Ooh.
Yeah,
I
very,
mean,
very
John
cool.
Wick
The
vibes from
Mandalorian.
this. Mm.
yeah. I could see Keanu doing it too. I really
Keanu
could.
just needs to
I
play
could
every
see
bad
Keanu-
guy at this point.
Every bad
Yeah,
guy.
not doing Ghost Rider though.
Yeah. So fan opinion power, that's what we're talking about. In things like that,
Sonic the Hedgehog
the best
Sonic.
example, Sonic the Hedgehog, where
Which, by
the
the
live
way,
action
is an actually good movie. I resisted watching
it's a
it
great movie.
until a week. It was a week before we went to con. I actually sat down and watched it, and I'm like, I actually thoroughly enjoy this. I would
Yeah.
Jim
watch this.
Carrey in that
second
was
or third time.
phenomenal. The animation.
Jim Carrey
the
is
voice.
reason enough to watch that movie. Like
I
this,
love Jim Carrey. He's a national treasure. Let's just protect him.
Yeah. we need to do a spotlight on him as well. But for those of y'all that don't know, that have been living under a rock for the past 2 years, so Sonic the Hedgehog, the 2020 live action film starring the world's most popular blue hedgehog, was originally scheduled to hit theaters last November. This is coming out now. But the first trailer of the movie sparked major criticism on the internet over the way Sonic looked. And I'm going to put a picture of the original look right here. So
Gross.
Oh
Yeah.
God. Ugh.
The movie's director, Jeff Flower, responded with a vow to change Sonic's look. Quote, "You aren't happy with the design and you want changes. It's going to happen," unquote. He wrote on Twitter after a major redesign, quote, "Sonic the Hedgehog looks much more cartoonish. He no longer has humanoid teeth and he's got his characteristic white gloves on." The movie went on to be a great success at the box office, the biggest debut for any movie based on a video game so far, which we still need to do an episode on movies based on video games too.
Yes.
But now, according to early reports, Paramount spent $35 million redesigning Sonic for the entire film. It was estimated the studio spent $2.15 million improving Sonic's design for the second trailer alone. Yet IndieWire reported Sonic's redesign cost only about $5 million. But still, that's $5 million that they didn't have
For
to
an
spend
opinion.
if they would have just
Mhm.
it was a massive opinion.
a massive
so-
opinion. Yes.
I
Now-
think that was one of the
I-
things that we actually all agreed on at one point.
I have a question.
I would,
Hold on just a second.
yeah.
Would any of us raise your hand if you would have still watched it at least once if they didn't redesign it?
That's the
I
thing.
probably
And
would have
all three-
watched it twice.
For
so I knew
our
what I
for our
was-
audio listeners, we all just raised our
Yes,
hands.
we all
So
just raised our hand.
so
I
yeah,
raised my hand before
I-
the question was even done.
yeah, I would have watched it because here's my thing. To me, I would have been like, he doesn't look quite right, but they're trying to make it live action, so it's okay. It's kind of like anytime we watch an MCU movie where we don't get the comic book accurate costume. There are a few characters where we don't have that. For instance, Drax looks very gray because he's supposed to be green. So Groot, can change form in the comic books. He can go from small to big, all this other stuff. So I'm not saying these are problems. I'm just saying these are examples of we don't have comic book accurate representation all the time. So that would be the same thing as getting mad at that instead of watching the story.
Well,
But he
Watching
also
the
looked
actor-
he looked gross.
Yeah.
Well, that's an opinion. And a lot of people just took that one shot of him doing that freak out moment where it's like, or whatever. And that was the moment they were freaking out about. That was the design they were freaking out about. That scene, that moment literally lasts 5 seconds. So we don't know because we didn't ever see the movie released in its original entirety.
I would
what
like to.
it actually
Could we
would have
get
looked
it?
like.
Can we get it, please?
Yeah.
Like
I'm sure a
I-
version
Restore-
exists.
Restore the Sonic verse. Restore the Sonic verse.
Dude,
Yeah.
I'm putting the petition together right now.
Now, so along with that, so that was just outcry on the internet, pretty much. That's what caused that redesign. We also have, if you're trying to be a good fan and you want to know what your power is, you can also do what's called good review bombing. Now, this is a line you have to, kind of watch. But if you go see a movie, whether you bought the tickets on Fandango or whether you have an IMDb profile, whatever, go do an actual review for it, please, an actual review. But don't do it in like if you didn't like it, tell us why you didn't like it, but name 2 other things that you did like about it.
Mm-hmm.
Find 2 things.
Argue
Do
the
a,
other point.
do a
Not-
compliment
not-
sandwich.
Not
Kinda
just
thing.
not just movies, guys. Music, TV
Right.
shows, books, magazines,
would love-
anything and everything. Because all of the people out there want to know if they're doing a good job for you, like an
I would
actual
love to
good
find
job.
someone. I would love to find someone who, like, legit does not enjoy Marvel comics. Like, does not enjoy any of the characters. It's just not their cup of tea. But for them to sit down, this would have to be a very a person who can separate their own feelings from a work of art. Sit down and review MCU movies. I would watch that.
I would watch it.
That'd be interesting. Yeah,
Like
if you're listening to this and you haven't seen any of the Marvel movies just because you're DC born and raised, not that you dislike Marvel, you just haven't given it a shot, hit us up. We'll talk.
So
We're gonna talk.
I watch another YouTuber, and she's absolutely adorable. Her name on YouTube, and I'm just gonna shout it out, is Millennial Movie Monday, and she's a millennial, and she is now just starting the MCU. It's her first time watching it. She never had time to watch movies before, and it is
spoilers out there.
so
Yeah.
well, I mean, she's got some through pop culture and whatever, but she's never seen the movies themselves. But like, she is a gem, and I highly recommend her. Like, if she doesn't like something, she will tell you why, and it's her opinion. But when she loves something, it is like watching a kid open a present on Christmas morning. Her love for Bill Murray restores my soul. And
I love Bill Murray.
Another guy we need to do an actor spotlight on.
Yeah, definitely.
oh God, I love Bill Murray. And
We'll link him. Or her. Sorry, we'll link her. We said I was talking about him, Bill Murray.
yeah.
We'll link her profile in the episode details so y'all can go check her out. Definitely. So, but yeah, and like Ori said, don't just do it for movies, books, music, anything. We need to be a force for good if we're going to be out here, because what we're getting a lot of, especially in this day and age, is we have Joe Blow. He goes on the internet. He's never seen the MCU in its entirety. He's never read the comic books. He's not really a DC guy either. He's just not really a nerd, but he wants to watch the movies. And he goes online and says, "Hey guys, I'm thinking about starting the MCU. What order should I watch them in?" And instead of getting for every 5 helpful, here's a screenshot of the graph in what order to watch them in chronologically. For every 5 of those, there's 100. Oh, don't even bother, man. Skip over Captain Marvel. It's a show and all this other stuff. Like,
Well,
first of all, why are we going to
CW
social media for that and stuff like that?
social media is really toxic on any of the women interests in like the CW shows. Iris and Felicity get so much fucking hate online.
And
It
if
is
we want to
ridiculous.
segue into the Powerpuff Girls here, because
Yeah, well,
okay,
we'll
I'm
go
not
ahead and
okay.
we'll go ahead and cross into now. This is where we're getting
remind me
into
when we do
toxicity. So
Okay, so I am a huge Powerpuff Girl fan, like massive. I have devoured all of it. I fan fiction, art. I am Bubbles. If we don't know by now. When I heard that the CW was making a Powerpuff Girls TV show, I was like, oh. I'm really excited because this is probably going to be more of them grown up.
mhm.
I was so excited. I was posting the links. I was like, yeah, throwing stuff out there. And everybody's like, oh my God, they just need to not make this. And I'm like, no, guys, like, let's give it a chance. Let's give it a chance. And I was still posting stuff and I was really excited. And then the script, supposed script, ended up leaking and it looked like a trash can fire. And I'm like, I'm gonna give them a chance to fix this.
Mhm.
I'm gonna give them a chance to like kind of, bring it back, make it more grounded in reality and not so buzzwordy and all the weird
Right.
stuff that they're trying to do with it. I was really happy they were going to make it diverse and watch how these super spice and everything nice girls grow up. And I don't know, right now it's kind of ruined for me and it makes me kind of sad, mainly because of the fans.
Yeah,
well, people judged it before there was even a supposed script out. People judged it as soon as a set photo was leaked.
An unedited set
An
photo.
unedited set photo. I mean, if you judge The Flash and Supergirl and those shows based off of their post-production filming, I mean, you look at that stuff, you just have Grant Gustin circling his hands, and it looks fucking weird. And then so Melissa Benoist, or whatever her name is, Supergirl, just jumping and then running off screen real quick. It's like, it looks weird because it's not edited yet.
Right. We call that, or I don't know what the actual term for it is, but the term we're labeling it with is called pre-production canceling, where like Ori said, you have these people that are looking at these set photos going, man, they shouldn't even make this. All right. First of all, you don't know what you're talking about because you're not in the business. All right. So that means everyone that just worked at production, if you really want them to not make it, all of those people are now out of work when they're just now getting back to work. So shut up. I will defend at least those people. It might not be a good show. Guess what? We won't really know until it comes out on TV and you give it a shot.
Or at least see the pilot.
Or at least see the pilot. Right.
At least see the pilot. I mean, I am still excited for it. They're going back, they're reworking it. I'm not a huge fan of the CW treatment, when they rebooted Charmed. I was not excited about that. Well, I was excited about it. And then I saw it. I gained my own opinion on it. Right. And I'm like, but if somebody still to this day will ask me if they need to watch the reboot of Charmed, I say yes. So you can form your own opinion and then we can talk.
That's how it should be. That's how it should be right there. Along with the pre-production canceling, a lot of that was done by what I call nostalgia justice warriors, which will also fit into that Charmed category. This is pretty much, now I don't know if this is an actual term, guys, but these are terms I'm kind of coming up with as we go. And this is how I define nostalgia justice warriors. Hating on a new adaptation of a nostalgic classic. I've actually been guilty of this myself personally, but I don't think I've ever said on this show of anything that I saw in pre-production. I always wait and give my opinion when it's in circulation. But I have said that I don't care for how various writers and directors have messed with my favorite franchises. Best example, Michael Bay messing with Transformers and TMNT. We did a whole episode on Michael Bay exploded my childhood. But I waited until those movies were made, watched them, formed my opinion, and then gave my opinion. But do I tell anyone
we
don't
didn't
watch the movie?
boycott.
No.
No.
Right.
We didn't boycott the movies. I'll even say that there's good elements to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movies, and there's good elements to maybe not the exponential number of Transformer movies that exist, but
Right.
the core first three had some
The
good
first
stuff.
three. Yeah.
Especially the first one. I loved the first one.
Yeah. I would say from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, everyone remembers the elevator beatbox scene. Like that's something that we could only get in this day and age. And I'll put that right here, as a matter of fact,
MC Mikey. MC Ricky.
MC
There were a few
Mikey.
moments that made
There
were a few moments that made me laugh. Yeah.
I don't know why I wanted to trash the whole thing is Megan Fox's April O'Neil.
that was Beard's opinion too.
Megan Fox cannot act.
Okay, she does great in horror and action.
Yes, Jennifer's body was great.
Yeah.
Hands down, she's great at that. But she's not. She
Made me
didn't
terrified.
have. She made April O'Neil too sexy. And I'm not saying any bashing on anybody being sexy because you do you, girl. But April O'Neil was all about the brain power and what she could figure out, and it just distracted for me. I mean,
I didn't like her in Transformers either, though.
Yeah. Well,
and then Michael Bay.
I just
put
felt
her
like
as-
she was
Michael
put
Bay's
in.
fave.
I feel like Michael Bay puts her in as the gasping, "What's going on?" girlfriend.
Yeah.
Like that's
Definitely.
really
But
all her role.
it's not good for her because she's kind of a badass.
But now, and with all that being said, do we say don't watch any of Megan Fox's movies? No. Go watch
No.
them. Form your own
Go
opinion.
watch
Please.
it.
That's our opinion.
And then
of
come
Megan
talk
Fox.
to
You
me and we
might
can
She's
talk
love
good
her.
about
in a few
Megan Fox.
comedies.
Right.
She's
Yeah.
good in comedies, and she's.
I've
good in
actually
films.
seen her in some comedy stuff. It's actually pretty funny. Now the Nostalgia Justice Warriors, especially on Powerpuff Girls, they're like, oh, this is supposed to be an animated series, and you're turning it live action. And all. Okay, first of all, it's the CW, so of course they're doing that. Look at what they did with Riverdale. That's based off of the Archie comic books, which were not horror at all. They weren't even really drama, but they made it a live
They're
action
fun-loving
adaptation.
stuff. Yeah.
Right.
I gotta admit, first 3 or 4 seasons of Riverdale, I was hooked. I lost
I
interest.
haven't watched it, but that's not to say I never will. Just I haven't watched it yet.
It's not everyone's
So-
cup of tea. It really isn't.
Right. But the same thing now, we are in a unique position, especially when it comes to the Powerpuff Girls project, because Frenchie and Devin, the C-47, actually worked on that project. So when we were sitting here looking online, seeing all the hate coming at it for the set photos and all this other stuff, me and Beard are sitting here like, yeah, but we know the storyline, which we're not going to reveal here. If you want to hit us up, PM, whatever. But we might let you know if we're allowed. But like we know some of the actors, some of the roles that are going to be playing, the
We
basic
get a lot
plot.
of cool inside
just-
information
yeah.
sometimes.
So we were sitting here like we're not even huge Powerpuff Girls fans, and we're like, yeah, we'll watch it. We'll watch it if it comes out. Like we'll give it a
absolutely
shot.
would.
Yeah. The fact that it has Turk from Scrubs in it that's enough for me.
See,
Like,
the
that's-
cast looks really good, and I was
Yeah.
really excited about all of the cast. The girls were.
Are they
cast
for sure
out.
not doing it?
No, it hasn't been said yet. The pilot's finished though.
The pilot is
So-
finished. I know after the supposed script leak, whether it was or not, it did get copyright strike. So I'm leaning more towards this is kind of more accurate that it was part of the script. But I know that I hope it is made. I hope we get to see it. I hope it's either been reworked or however it's been done. I want to see it to form my own opinion and not let a mob mess it up for us.
I hope that's the case. Let's see. Screen Rant is
Real.
hold on, I got it right here. Powerpuff Girls, everything we know about the CW Powerpuff Girls series. Featuring the beloved 90s cartoon. For those of you curious about what exactly those difficulties might be, Warner Brothers TV Group President Channing Dungey didn't give many details while discussing the holdup. So there's just a holdup right now. We're not being told no. Featured first of the show. Have any cast members spoken out about reshooting the pilot? In recent interview with E! News, Cameron attempted to settle the waters surrounding the first episode. She explained that nothing went catastrophically wrong during the Powerpuff Girls shoot, but the cast and creators felt the premiere could be and needed to be stronger. What is the grown-up supposed to be about? No. Who is in the cast? No. Wait, Chloe Bennett? Wait, what? How did I not know that? Oh, okay. All right. See, I didn't even know that she was going to be playing Blossom. She's from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I remember that because a lot of people were kind of dumping on her because she goes from Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. to the Powerpuff Girls. And I know a lot of people were kind of upset about that. And I'm like, from one superhero thing to another, right in her alley.
Right. The official statement is when the question is asked, when will Powerpuff come out? Because it's just going to be called Powerpuff. It's unclear at this point what the release date for the show will be, especially now that the pilot is getting a facelift. Fingers crossed it won't be too long before we get to see our girls flying high. And that's all coming straight from ELLE.com, L.com, Culture, Movies, and TV. So they did a spotlight on it. So yeah. So that's what we're getting on the interwebs right now, is that it's gonna happen. It's just delayed. So
one last thing I want to talk about before we wrap this up is another form of toxicity in fandoms is gatekeeping.
Yeah, and you touched on that earlier. The whole Star Wars. You're not a fan if you like this, or you're not a fan if you don't like this.
If you haven't seen this episode from this era, like I get told that I'm not a Star Trek fan because I refuse to watch the original Star Trek. Or like I'm a huge Doctor Who fan, but for me it's hard to watch the originals. I respect the original episodes.
Right.
But even the Ninth Doctor I have troubles watching because it's a little too cheesy for me. I still love the Ninth Doctor, don't get me wrong. Okay. But even if I didn't like the Ninth Doctor, if I like Doctor Who, fan. I'm still
even if you only watch the Jodie. Even if you watch only one.
Oh, sorry.
We're like, oh.
Y'all are trying to say the same thing, and it's funny. I'm just sitting back watching, like two Whovians are like, even if you want, hey,
even if you like one Doctor, you're still a Whovian.
Right.
And they do a lot of like, reference to, the old Doctors, and to the older episodes. And you're just sitting there and you're like, I'm still, I haven't watched any of the new Jodie stuff. And it's not that I don't like her. It's just I don't have time. And people are like, oh, if you're not totally caught up, you're not a Whovian. I'm like, okay, my bedspread is a Dalek. Come at me.
Come at me, bro.
We could have used you in the Doctor Who episode.
We talked about this. It wasn't necessarily like we weren't talking about toxicity or gatekeeping or anything like that, but we did talk about what is it like, because I asked him, because I'm a fan of Doctor Who. I've seen one season. I love the concept of the show. I haven't watched it all. So I'm a fan, and since Doctor Who fans call themselves Whovians, I guess I'm a Whovian. So, but
all it takes
at the same
to
time,
be a fan of anything, all it takes to be a fan of anything is to simply like it. You don't have to know all the lore. You don't have to know all the comic book knowledge. You just have to sit down, watch it or read it and enjoy it. You are a fan and you are valid.
Like it and respect it for what it is. Even if you don't like 100% of it.
Gatekeepers are lower tier fans, in my opinion.
Preach.
Gatekeepers are just as bad in fandom as they are in video games.
Well, not just in fandom, in life in general. If you're going to gatekeep something, as the next episode that I'm going to be a part of, where you boys kind of like just back off and let the women speak.
Yeah, that's gonna be fun.
Like, we have been kept out of fandom for so long, and finally we're like, we're kicking the door in. Bye.
Hello.
Oh, hello. We have one of our guests from our next recording.
Oh, awesome!
Hi.
This is actually a perfect time for you to hop in, actually.
Hey, I was like, should I join yet? Is it too early?
You are a little
Well, we're
bit,
wrapping
but-
up our other
we're
episode, but
wrapping
it's
up
perfectly
this.
fine. It's
Yeah,
perfectly
you
fine to
have.
have someone
I
drop
was
in.
just talking about us.
Yeah, that was actually
She
very
knew.
organic. We did not plan this like we did when Ori took over the episode.
No, this was not
this
planned.
was not planned.
It's
This is
just
very
perfect
organic.
timing. It's
It
just
was
perfect
great.
timing.
Oh my gosh. But no, like I get to talk with this lovely person in a little bit
Right.
about, how awesome women are in fandom.
Heck yeah.
Oh,
So
We
gatekeeping is one of the most toxic things you can do as a fan, and if you do it, I don't want to fucking associate with you. That's my stance.
Mama Bear from off screen. I actually wasn't listening to what y'all were saying because Mama Bear from off screen was just saying that anytime someone just jumps in on the call, we're just going to call that pulling an Ori.
Pulling an Ori.
So
There, okay,
he-
there's so many references to what an Ori is now. Maybe we need to like have a subcategory of Oriness. Like
Right.
there's the crashing Ori, there's the spontaneity Ori, there's the giggly Ori. We'll figure it out. We'll figure out some terminology.
But
Oh.
we are ready to wrap this episode up here. So because we pretty much talked about everything we could talk about as far as that goes. We are looking forward to doing Star Wars episodes in the future. We've talked about doing that. We might even do one episode per set of movies. So like we might do one for the prequels, one for the original trilogy, one for the sequels, and then one for the standalone movies. So it would be 4 episodes worth of material. Y'all let us know how y'all feel about that. I think that would be a good Talk Nerdy segment for this week. Write in, let us know how we should do Star Wars. Do you want us to just break it down? Do you want us to do an episode for every movie? We could do that. And just put them out like sporadically, but in some order that we come up with later on or something like that. But let's definitely get on out of here because we are on our way to recording our next episode, which I don't know if it's going to come out next week from the recording
Honestly,
of this.
in a
or
way,
if it's
these
gonna
two
be the next week.
episodes, can kind of go hand in hand in a lot of ways.
They really
They really
tie
do.
together a lot.
If they didn't, I'd be worried.
Because
So-
the one thing we didn't talk about in this episode, and you can get it in the next episode, is, and I'll ask this question for them later, is what does toxicity look like towards nerdom women?
Oh,
And
Right.
I know they're gonna dig into that.
oh,
So
But,
let's get stretching.
definitely check out our next episode.
Yeah, let's go.
Coming out
All right.
next week, but we're recording. Well, this is super meta, by the way.
Just look for it in the next week or so to come out. It's called Woman-splaining. Wait, hold on. I want to make sure I get this right because I didn't come up with this title because I was told I couldn't mansplain their title to them. It is called Woman-splaining. Woman-splaining the power. Well, that doesn't help me either. The power of women in fandom. So, Woman-splaining the power of women in fandom. That'll be out either next week or the week after next. In the meantime, I've been the Bear.
I've been the Beard.
I've been
That's
the
been
babe.
Ori, the
I'm
Babe,
just
and that's
stopping
been
in to say hi.
that's Timp down there stopping in to say hi before we record our next episode. And until next time, guys, we want to remind you, as always, to stay awesome
Stay bearded.
and
much love.
much love, guys.
love.
We'll see y'all next week. Until then, we are out of here.
Boom, cut the check.
All right.
Whew, another episode done. Thank you so much for listening.
New episodes are released every Friday at 8 a.m. Central Standard Time. So check back each week or subscribe on your device so that it downloads automatically.
Apple users, please don't forget to rate and review on the app. And you can also now review us on Facebook. This helps us find more listeners, or more listeners find us.
As always, the links to the Facebook page, email, Nerdline, and website can be found in the episode details so you can talk nerdy to us. Your ideas or feedback may even be shared in future episodes.
Lastly, a huge thanks to the rest of the Bearded Bear team.
Our graphic designer and head researcher, Mama Bear Christine,
Our master of marketing, Han Brolo Matt.
and all of our geeks of the round table, Brosius Mayo, my guys.
Hey, Brosius, my dude. We'll talk at you next week, nerds. Till then, stay awesome
Stay bearded.
and much love. Bye.